Last week, a huge milestone ruling came from inside this building that stemmed from these two men's 5-year legal battle against Uber.
Supreme Court unanimously dismisses Uber's appeal.
UK Supreme Court's ruling last week essentially disrupts some of the biggest tech disruptors in the world, and it could totally reshape the future of the gig economy.
The tech giant's appeal has been dismissed by the highest court in the land.
The case could have implications for many others.
It sends a strong signal to companies like Uber, these big, massive companies, that the workers can fight them.
The court ruled that Uber should classify its drivers as workers as opposed to being self-employed. The decision means that thousands of drivers could be entitled to company benefits like holiday pay, sick pay, and a minimum wage, leading to Uber potentially having to pay out over £100 million to over 10,000 drivers. The reason what happened in here last week is a big deal on a macro level because it could mean a huge reshape for gig economy workers, meaning that companies may no longer be able to profit from the grey areas in employment law.
I quickly want to paint a picture for you. It is March of 2020 and coronavirus has just hit. Countries all around the world are locking down. We're all staying at home and no one's really sure how things are operating. On the 20th of March, the UK government announced the UK Job Retention Scheme to support businesses who couldn't maintain their current workforce because of the pandemic. But there was a huge group of people that didn't fall into the categories laid out, including many gig economy workers, like delivery drivers, cleaners, and Uber drivers. And none of them get sick pay. They're not technically employees. Now, Uber drivers were saying that they had to stay out for longer because there was much less work because people were just staying at home, they weren't going out. And then in some cases were forced to decide between nursing a mild cold or flu symptoms and staying at home without earning anything, or going out there and making their living.
I remember meeting a few drivers of mine and I asked him, why are you still working? And they said, I have no choice. It's either food and bills or nothing at all.
The government did put in a scheme for the self-employed and freelancers, but that wasn't until the end of May. For some people, it was 3 months too late. And in the case of Uber drivers, because they were technically self-employed, this is just a recent example of how these drivers are disadvantaged by how these gig economy companies operate. This case started back in 2016 when two drivers, James Farah and Yassine Aslam, took Uber to court on behalf of a group of drivers arguing that they were workers of Uber. They actually won that ruling, but Uber appealed against the employment tribunal decision in 2017. And long story short, it's just been going through the courts ever since. Which brings us to the final ruling from the UK Supreme Court last week. In short, what you need to know is that they dismissed the appeals by Uber, stating its drivers should be classified as workers rather than self-employed.
And this is where it gets a little bit weird with Uber. After the ruling, they actually sent this out to every driver in the UK on the app. They said a small number of drivers from 2016 can be classified as workers, but this judgment does not apply to the drivers on the app today. Uber has made significant changes to their business in recent years, including giving drivers more control over their earnings and bringing in new protections, including free insurance in the case of sickness or injury. So I rode my electric skateboard to the Supreme Court, but I don't think it's going to make the journey home. So I figured when it dies, I'll order an Uber and I'll ask my Uber driver his thoughts on the situation. Just as I thought my skateboard died, maybe I'm like halfway home. So I'm going to order an Uber. Yeah. Hi, for Andy? Andy, yeah. Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, last week.
Last week, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know much about it?
No, to be honest, I just recently joined them and I'll be finishing on probably, hopefully next month.
Why did you decide to join Uber?
They're good. I mean, you own your own boss. Nobody can interrupt you, anything. If you feel like it, go home.
Thank you so much, Mohammed.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Have a lovely day.
Yeah, enjoy the sun. Interestingly, he didn't know too much about the situation, but was happy with what he was doing with Uber. Interesting that it's not, to a lot of people, they're not really thinking about it too much. He also hadn't driven for Uber for that long. He said like a month. Uber is notoriously known for not making a profit since their inception in 2009, I want to say. But London is one of their only locations where they actually do turn a profit. But that might be set to change because over 20% of the company's 60,000 UK drivers have launched a claim against Uber. The firm that represents 9,000 of the drivers has calculated that each driver could claim back between £10,000 and £12,000. That's a lot of money, and that's a lot of money for Uber to shell out. So right now, it is undecided how Uber are gonna act, how they're gonna react to this. But if they are forced to reclassify their drivers as employees, they would incur significant additional expenses that would require it to completely change its business model. At Uber's core, its entire model is based on recruiting a large supply of vehicles to meet surges in demand at no extra cost to the business. Uber doesn't buy the cars for the drivers, right? The driver supplies the car. This would totally be upended if they had to pay their drivers a minimum wage every time they clocked into the app. And the effects would likely lead to higher prices for customers, or Uber taking a lower cut of the profits. Currently they take around 20%. And in a weird way, Uber's future is kind of out of their own hands, at least for now. After years of moving fast and disrupting the system, the courts and the legal procedures have caught up with them. So why is this case against Uber so significant for the other gig economy companies and workers? And the answer is because they are pretty much based on a similar business model. That they want to control their workers to guarantee a particular kind of service to their customers. It also allows them to scale much quicker and have a diverse and flexible pool of workers, which is appealing to workers that want flexibility, more independence, and maybe a variety in job. But the problem is they also don't have employee benefits. And the issues raised by these Uber drivers in the tribunal cases can be applied across the economy. Although the UK doesn't have a labour inspectorate, that makes it easier for these companies to just kind of ignore this, to sweep this under the rug because they think that nobody's actually gonna look into it unless the workers go to these tribunals themselves. But this ruling does seem to be the floodgates opening on these huge companies to have clearer rights for the self-employed workers that seem to just fall through the cracks of employment laws in the UK. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope that has brought you up to speed with what is going on at the moment. And as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. I loved using these areas as a place to kind of just to have a dialogue and to continue that conversation. So would love to hear what you think. Clearly the growth of the gig economy has brought jobs to so many people, and it's totally changed the way that we live, especially here in London. And I think the pandemic has certainly shone a spotlight on some of the issues within the sector. And if you're new around here, my name is Andy. It really helps this channel if you like it, leave a comment, and of course subscribe. Making these videos weekly. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Stay safe, and I will catch you guys in the next one.